Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much to Krebs, who helped, well, did most of the work. Mate. So good, so good. Yeah, I asked if someone could low poly me, and I sent them the. It is actually the GoldenEye rig, so don't at me, Nintendo. But somewhat slimmer than I am in real life. Going to be working its way into some indents on video essays and stuff like that. Thank you for joining. I don't always do a stream on a Tuesday, but I've been trying to work through a few kind of slightly longer streams of games from community members. Sometimes they get submitted and they're just a longer game. This one is a little bit different. I've played this game before, and I know I really like this game. That's full disclaimer. This is a game from one of our patron supporters or their team. It's not a solo developed game. It is someone in our Patreon Discord community who has a small team that they make games with. And this is one of their games, that Studio Digital Kingdom, that they're currently kind of working out whether to progress it as a project, right? They've got lots of little projects on, and they're sort of trying to validate them all. And this is one where I personally really like it, but it is on the more kind of strange art game side of things rather than some sort of like arcade game that you will buy and play for years and years and years in order to master, right? I think it probably could be that if enough time was put into certain elements of it. But I wanted to cover this game today to show people it and sort of talk about why I like it, and then get some of your feedback on what you think of it and what parts you think could be improved about it. We are going to be delivering some pizzas, as the title of this stream suggests. We're going to be delivering them in a place called Yellow Canyon. Let's see what it says here. You've been on the road for as long as you can remember. You run out of fuel in Yellow Canyon, and in exchange for a fuel tank, you have to do the pizza deliveries for a couple of nights. Right, so it's got a nice bounded time span of the game, right? We already know that this isn't going to be going on forever and ever. Ride your motorcycle at full speed and deliver the last pizza still being served in a world that is reaching its planetary limits. The illusion of abundance fading, residents of Yellow Canyon have come together to continue the culinary art of pizza making and enjoyment. Okay, so we're going to be riding a motorbike around delivering pizzas. And I don't know what it means to say that a world is reaching its planetary limits, but it's kind of intriguing. Side quests and collectibles. Deliver the best pizza to the totally normal locals. Bit of sarcasm there that I quite enjoy. Let's see how we get on with this. I'm going to just play it in the browser because we can. And I don't usually have any problem with Unity browser games. Just wait for that to load so we can full screen it. Standing up today. I figured it looked a bit tidier. I went down the rabbit hole yesterday of looking at those kind of videos you get telling you how to make better videos, and they were complaining about YouTubers that have something that looks like it's on top of their head. I have no way to get a clear shot from my webcam that doesn't have an organ on top of my head or a bookcase or whatever. I had to tidy up. You can see fans of the cube will see it's moved up and to the left a little bit. It was down in the bottom right. It's moved up a little bit. The cube. Anyone who's new today will be thinking, what is he going on about? There is a cube, and some people like the cube. It's part of the channel lore, okay? The cheap Menkind lamp, the Temu lamp. People love it. Game devs love a lamp that looks like some kind of magical cyberpunk entity might live inside of it. And the reason why we need to bring low poly dock dance in here for... Now we're really streaming, right? We need this added to loading screens. I need a way to detect when a game is on a loading screen and bring up the dance. Okay, I'm playing with the controller. You getting any audio from that? It seems pretty quiet. Let me just whack that right up. Okay. So, first thing we see, we've got a map of the area. We're starting off down here in the corner. Bassanio's Pizza in the Coyote Industrial Park. And then we've got various points around the map. We've got a settings menu. We've got an unstuck. Love to see an unstuck. Really hate getting deep into a game and getting stuck and there's no unstuck option. Inventory, nothing in it yet. So we're going to go into Bassanio's Pizza and start a promising career as a temp pizza worker. Bassanio, what do I need to press to talk to you? Bassanio. I think I need to download it. I think the web version is getting my inputs confused because none of the buttons on my controller will let me talk to Bassanio. Which is a shame because I was looking forward to talking to Bassanio. Here we go. There we go. Fine. You want fuel? Well, I need it for the pizza deliveries. And your paper isn't worth anything around here. Doesn't want any money. Listen, how about a trade? If you do the distributions for me for a couple of days, I'll get you a full tank. Of course, I'll provide petrol for the job, but that won't get you out of Yellow Canyon, just so you know. Deal? Okay. Let's start with my supplier, Lucia. She owns whatever's left of the croplands in YC, the Sunshine Farm. You better be nice to her. She keeps things in order around here. Make sure people don't die sober. She ordered a post-apocalyptic. Is that like a Neapolitan post-apocalyptic pizza? I guess. Next is Joe. He's waiting for his El Coyote with extra cheese. He has never ordered anything else. The old man even provides the meat for it. He's the only one left working at the Yellow River power plant. Okay. So we've got 2 pizzas to deliver. We've got 2 places to go. I guess it makes sense to go to Lucia first because she's closer to us, the farm that we can see on the map there. And those of you who are very astute attention payers, that's a real thing, to the channel will note I've scheduled Thursday's Indies Under the Knife stream to also be 2 games about delivering things. So this week we're getting someone from the Discord community, someone from the Patreon community for this channel's game about delivering things, and then later on in the week we're going to see 2 other games about delivering things. It's almost like we're picking a thing that a game can be about, and then doing case studies of different ways of approaching that thing. Which, well, who's this? I said I played this before. I don't think this person was there. Hey, mechanic. Damn sweet ride. Haven't seen one
that could roar like that in ages, just like music to my ears. I could make it sound even wilder if you can find one of those thick-ass exhaust pipes, or any other custom parts. Finders keepers law here, I'll install them for you, but you gotta make her sing for me.
We were having a discussion the other day in the Discord about like subgenres of post-apocalyptic and how there's this like subgenre of post-apocalyptic literature called a cosy catastrophe, which is when you use the post-apocalyptic setting to do something that's actually kind of nice. Like obviously it's a bit melancholic that there's no one around and stuff for whatever reason, but this feels like that. It's got that kind of vibe. I don't know if the mechanic was in it when I played it previously, but I didn't run into them. So the music, we've got this kind of like very kind of late 90s D&B. It gets faster with the acceleration of the bike, which is a really nice touch. Because the driving is very casual, right? You can't... There's no real kind of time limit on the drive. And you can't, like, total your bike or anything. But driving really fast so that you can make the music go louder feels kind of rewarding, so it sort of presses you to drive faster, even though there's not really any kind of mechanical gameplay reason why you would need to drive fast, right? And I could see that being, like... This feels like a very chill game where you don't want to put too much pressure on people, but I could see there being like a mode where you have sort of time trials and stuff. Yeah, this is totally how you ride onto a farm.
I got you a pizza. Are you Lucia? What do you want? I give you a pizza, that's what I want.
She has the post-apocalyptic... Post-apolitan. What's in a cosmopolitan pizza? I don't think that's like a... There you go.
Oh, your Bessinio's new pet, huh? Don't let that man treat you like he treated Antonio. Disgusting. Come to me if anyone gives you trouble. I'll keep them in check. Same goes for you. If you bother anyone, I'll make sure the whole canyon forgets you ever existed.
Okay. Lucia, lovely to meet you. Good luck with your potatoes. Sorry I gave you Morgan Freeman's voice. I don't know why I did that, but we'll come back later, and I just need to remember what voice you had, because that's what happens when you start doing voices. What you learn from having kids and reading them books when they're going to bed is if you're going to do voices, you need to be consistent with your voices, otherwise all hell breaks loose. I should have borrowed a motorcycle helmet and did this entire stream with a motorcycle helmet on. I think that would have been rad. I've only ever been on the back. Not very rock and roll, I know. I've been on the back of a 1200, but I haven't been the main driver of any kind of bike. Been on the back of a 1200cc bike when I was like a teenager. It was terrifying. Also has that kind of like feeling like when you're on a roller coaster where it's like, okay, this is terrifying, but I'm not in control of it, so... You know? What do you mean, riding my... Oh, is that a bridge? Okay. It's like, we're going to fly over something here. We're going to turn off on the next right. You can kind of keep the map open while you're riding, and it doesn't, like, pause or anything, which is quite neat. It's sort of an overlay, so you can... I'm not sure it's like the best way of implementing the map so that you can use it while you're riding, but I appreciate that you can, you know? I think there might be a better iteration of that idea. And especially seeing as this feels like it's kind of near future, maybe we could have, I don't know, some diegetic stuff like that. Who's this? Like that, the windshield has a HUD on it or something, you know? Who's this? I know that you're not a delivery, but I still want to say hello. What's your deal? You've got a radio mast. You got some CDs. You got your guitar. If a motorcycle falls and there's no one around, does it still make a sound? If you have any tracks, you can bring them to me, and I'll play them on the radio. Okay, thank you, MC. Okay, so we found out we can potentially, I don't know if this is actually in this game or if it's just being suggested in this build, you can take music to that guy, you can take engine parts to the mechanic. Those are both kind of cosmetics, I guess, but given that this is a very feel-driven game, they're like cosmetics that are going to impact like the main thing you're doing, which is like how it feels to drive around, I guess. Which is neat, right? Because if you think of like cosmetics that are for visually showing off, those work very well in a multiplayer game because you're not really looking at your character when you play a character in a game most of the time. It's sort of like you're seeing through them because they're more like a vehicle, whereas I feel like changing the music or changing the thing you're actually interacting with as you play as a cosmetic is cool. That's kind of why I liked the approach they did in the newer Doom, where you change how the monsters look. You can like unlock monster skins, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I look at the monsters more than I look at my character or my gun, so why the hell not? Are you in there? Is it you? Pizza, I got you a pizza. We're gonna have to take a break after probably the next round of deliveries to do the slowed down Mary Kate and Ashley pizza song, because it's one of my favorite things on the internet ever. It's like I don't know if it's Disney Channel. There's a song they do about pizza, and there's like a chopped and screwed version of it on the internet that's just like really pitched down. And we have to take an interlude after maybe one more night of pizza delivery, and then we'll throw over to that, because I need to share this important piece of culture with you. Nothing beats the taste of fresh meat on a pie. Don't worry about the coyotes. I only shoot those poor bastards when they get too close to the U-dump. Their horns are a result of the radiation. Just don't ask me where mines grow. I'm guessing you're not familiar with the area yet. There's a passage under the highway just turn west after the donut shop. You should know it's infested with those useless kids. So I'd just twist the wrist if I were you. Cool, okay. We're getting some world building as well. We've been told that the coyotes have horns, which is cool. And I get the impression from this game and how sort of sparsely populated it is that we're never going to meet a coyote with horns, right? We're just sort of suggesting it and letting it fester in the player's imagination, which is cool and fine. Right, can I go back down this way to get home? That seems to be pointing a way that isn't on my map. Huh. The temptation to just drive across all of the sand is very, very overwhelming. I just want to go the wrong way all the time. Okay, we are going the wrong way. We're going completely the wrong way to get home. right. We're gonna do a sort of scenic recon. Don't mind if we get a little bit lost on the first night. Yeah, I like how joined up this game is in terms of thinking about, like, okay, we're gonna make a game that doesn't have many people in it. It's quite spread out, and then all of the setting feels like it's been built around making the game make sense, which I know some people will think that, oh, that's very contrived, but that is sort of how you do creative direction for video games well. It's like, what's the best direction of this to kind of justify the mechanics, you know? How do we make those things work together? The great thing about reading your comments in the chat, Tim, is that I've heard your voice. So my brain now reads them out in your voice. Because I think I heard you do a call-in with Marnix a couple of months ago, actually. Talking about Dave. So I can sort of remember what your voice sounds like, and that means when I see your comments, I sort of hear them shouted out in my head. Yeah, this is quite a good take on bikes, right? I mean, like, when was the last time you did a game that was about bikes but wasn't racing? Yeah, I feel like the sound, like Cam, you said in the chat, the noise of the bike is really satisfying. It's well implemented. It's not like so high fidelity that it doesn't fit with all this kind of PSX type stuff that's going on with the art. I think I just went past the pizza place on the left there, so I need to work out how to get around. I think it's around this way. The little industrial estate where the pizza joint is a little bit of a maze, but I think that's intentional. Because if you have a little bit of a maze, then it's like, okay, every time I come back here, I get a little bit more familiar with how these roads work, how this layout is. Boss man, all done. Pepperized. I'm exactly the same. Yeah, I love vehicles. Don't really like racing. Don't mind racing in a game that's not primarily about racing. Like, you know, when you get the street races in GTA or Cyberpunk. I think Cyberpunk had street races, maybe. But yeah, really love like driving and vehicles and vehicular games. But I just feel like racing isn't the best use of what's cool about driving a vehicle around, you know? I think it's because racing is kind of a bit like... It's a bit like something like Guitar Hero or a rhythm game, where it's more of... There's like classifications of toy, puzzle game. Like racing games and rhythm games are more like a contest. It's less... There's not much variation between... There's a bit more in a racing game than a rhythm game, but there's not much variation between one run and the next. So it kind of... You end up feeling like you're not making decisions. It's all fully reactions, and I guess it doesn't really matter whether that makes it a game or a contest or how you classify those things, but it's definitely... It feels like it's not the most interesting use of a bike or a car to just race it around a track, and I'd much rather be using the vehicle to explore. I like the fact that we can get off at various points, and I could see some interesting stuff about that working in this game, of like certain places where you do need to get off on foot and have a look around, and certain places where you really need to use the bike. So, what do you think of Yellow Canyon? I can't imagine any other place that has it as good as us, except Italia, maybe. I have a spare bed behind the restaurant. The pillows are pretty soft if you can hold your breath until you fall asleep. Good night. Ah, nice. Spare bed. Let's go and get in the spare bed. They're behind the restaurant. Okay. Look at this lovely Italian scooter. Oh. Oh, that's the spare bed. Can I sleep in the car? Excuse me. Bassanio, you said there was a bed, but the bed, there's no bed. There's only a dumpster. There's only a dumpster, Bassanio. Does anyone know what team this is? No more ingredients. No more ingredients. They don't do tiramisu anymore. Don't do espresso. These are the things they still do. The Postopolitan, the LKOT, the Quattro Atomi, Pepperoni, Michelangelo, Musa Pepe, Marinana. I can't say the only one that's a normal one. So we've got sort of post. It's not like I mean, there was a talk of radiation, but it's not a post-apocalypse. It's like a sort of economic collapse, right? Like a dying world. I like that. I love a melancholy setting. One of the things I like about video games, or single-player video games specifically, is that we go to great lengths to construct a world and a story that justifies having a character on their own, right? So Half-Life, all of those sorts of things, it's like, you know, all of the Souls games. How can we have a world that justifies this character going around in a reasonably desolate world doing all this stuff? And often out of that, you just naturally get really kind of just settings that are quite melancholic and have quite a lot of pathos baked into them because of that requirement for the game to have this story about a solitary character roaming around. And that's why I think people get so emotionally attached to game worlds that aren't very rich in terms of having lots of characters and stuff in them, but it's just, there's something about that feeling of being like one of relatively few characters roaming around in a world that is just, I don't know, gets me in the feels. Where's my bike gone? Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, I need to get my pizzas. I was just going to ride off. I was just going to ride off with your gas and see how far I could get. Did you sleep all right? Tonight we've got 3 deliveries. This is for my dear Belladonna. She grows tomatoes for the pizza sauce. Her garden in Eden Tree is a small slice of paradise. But she's no angel even though she might look like one. She just wants a simple marinara. Marinara. I think she adds her own toppings. The Red Construction Co. ordered a Pepe. Try not to stay on their turf for too long. That's interesting. They have eyes everywhere in Red Mesa, and they hate people sticking their noses in their business. Then there's Danny the guitarist. He's waiting for his tasty Musa. He should be somewhere on the side of the road towards Delver. Okay, we get our next set of deliveries. You can see it's a very simple loop. It's very vibe driven. We are meeting these characters in order to get little chunks of story about them. I like what I've seen in this in terms of the bits of story we get. They're not like overwritten. They don't stay there welcome. They all kind of have a point to them. They all fill in, you know, they all either give us a little funny bit of character work about that character that we're meeting, or they fill in details about the world. Now, this time we've got one over there, so maybe we can go east from the start and go to Musa first, and then do like an anti-clockwise around. But even this, like, can you imagine the difference in this game if, like, this is a very small thing, right? But getting 3 things to do in a game and then deciding what order they're in is more interesting in an open world game or a game that gives you some choice about where you can go than getting the 3 things given to you in order and not knowing what one is until you get the next one, right? And it's a very small difference in terms of how this is structured, but we could be taking one pizza out and then coming back to the pizza parlor and then getting sent out again and coming back. But because we get them all at once, we get the choice of which order to do it in, and that kind of makes a difference. I've definitely played open world games that have been sent in before where you're only ever being given one thing to do at a time, and it's like, well, you're not maximizing the open world you've built here because there's no choice about what order to do things in, and that means that the things that you're giving me to do, because they just happen in a set order, it may as well be a linear game with linear levels, and you'd save yourself loads of time, you know. definitely played stuff that had that problem. If you're hearing any crackle on the music, I think it's probably just because I'm playing the web build. Says we've got someone coming up here. This is the guitarist guy. He's the one that ordered a Musa. Oh, it's Danny. Danny talks like this. I know you mostly see me playing the guitar, but I'm working on a novel as well. Feel free to stay and listen if you like. Looks a bit like infuriating early 2000s British pop icon James Blunt. Looks a bit like. Got your pizza for you, Danny. Danny the guitarist. For years I tried to put the whole universe into my songs, but it never worked out. This simple riff though, so simple, yet so, feels like it contains everything I've been trying to say. Like an echo of the world. I need to patch up the chorus though. I wonder how it would sound inside of the power plant. I bet those massive cooling towers would send my secret chords to the gods of music. I don't know if you've ever been to like a party with a hippie at it that is just like every other human being just exists to hear their monologues, right? I can talk. Remember, our character doesn't speak. I was talking about this on the when we looked at Hermit last week. Shout out to Hermit, by the way. Like, I was very critical of Hermit. Lots of people rushed to defend it. Developer actually is the person that gave up however much of his time this week to make low poly doc dance. So double shout out to the developer of Hermit, both for being a good sport and taking that rather critical stream and for helping with that. But when we were playing Hermit, I was talking about how, you know, it's a choice whether you go down the kind of old jRPG style thing of like there are characters in the world and they just say some stuff at you, or whether your character can speak and express themselves, and whether your player can express themselves by choosing for their character to be a different way based on the dialogue they choose. And what I like about that character we just met is that he perfectly justifies that narrative device of characters that communicate one way. Because he seems like the sort of person that even if you could choose a dialogue option, it wouldn't make any difference, right? He's just gonna tell you his artistic musings, and even if we could choose a dialogue option, which I don't think would be necessary for this kind of game, it just wouldn't change what he has to say at all, because he's just just talks at people, you know. Morning, KP. Red Mesa. This is that construction company. I think they were called something Construction Co. I don't know if they're actually a construction company, but they were... He was like warning us about them in some way. He said don't stay there too long or something. Hey, the Pepe for the Red Construction Co. Is it there? Okay. The walk is very slow, but it gives a nice contrast to riding the bike. That's a lovely bit of attention to detail. You can't see me. It's like it's a quite minimalist game. It's quite a sparse world, but whenever there's something that should do something for a little story moment or just to make you feel immersed, it does it. You know, the camera is following me. I don't know if there's any other cameras anywhere else in the world, if that's like a reused feature, if it's just for here, but that's neat.
Delivery completed. Please leave the perimeters speedily. Punishment for non-compliance. Porta toilet imprisonment.
I don't want to be imprisoned in a porta toilet. That'd be terrible. Yeah, the dancing guy is not part of the game. It looks like it. Looks very much like one of the characters in the game, but I'm just going to leave him there now because what I would really like is to take the volume of the audio output of the game and fade him in when the music gets louder, so we see more dancing low poly doc when the drum and bass is going, but whoop. This game is kind of a difficult sell, right? I can see loads of people liking this. It's just getting it in front of them. It's such a mood. I really like the writing. I like the characters that we've met. I love the art style. It's not a challenge-driven game, you know. It's exploration and little bits of world building and little bits of character story. And then we've got the suggestion that we can upgrade things and collect things, although I haven't really engaged with any of that yet. We just need Jacob Geller to play it, and then it will do numbers. This is so a Jacob Geller game. I know he's one of the 46 people watching it, so Jacob Geller, I think you should do a 3-hour-long video essay on this game. Hello, Belladonna. Yes? Don't have a pizza. I've got you the type of pizza I can't pronounce. Oh, thank you for the pizza. This is where it gets all its flavor. These tomatoes are incredibly resilient. You can taste their blood, sweat, and tears. I don't know why she sounds like Herbert the pervert. Sorry for that. They were cultivated for millennia here before they were introduced to the old world and genetically modified to suit the Italian taste buds, and finally reintroduced to their homeland, although culturally alienated. The best way to honor nature's adaptability and battle for bearing this magnificent fruit is to turn it into pizza sauce, don't you think? Say ciao to Bassanio for me. It feels very like there's something about the writing of these characters which could be quite grating. I think if I was playing like a normal sort of open world fantasy game and every character spoke like this, I would find it incredibly grating. But because it's kind of like meeting these characters and hearing what they have to say is the reward for doing the gameplay in this game, right? It's not just like, oh, get out of the way, I want to know what's happening next. It's like, if you don't like meeting the characters and hearing from them, you're probably not going to like the rest of the game. And I kind of really like that conceit that the game has of everyone has something that they think is quite profound to say, which is also like that is kind of what the writing in a lot of like old school jRPGs is like as well. You kind of will go up to someone who's fishing and they will just have you're a complete stranger and they're just thinking out loud at you and they say like really profound stuff about how fishing is like God or something. And I really like that when it's done well. I find it very, very charming, and it makes me want to like continue the game to meet the next character. It does look a bit like Paratopic, yeah. Paratopic by Doc Burford. Doc Burford should be your second favourite Doc on the internet, although I believe he was called Doc before I was called Doc. I've known Doc who made Paratopic and some similar sort of artsy indie games for a very long time on Twitter and stuff like that, and I believe he was Doc before I got my doctorate, so yeah, just say fishing equals God. Just put NPCs in your game that are like having thoughts way above their station, right? I think part of what I like about that is that games are so inherently surreal a lot of the time, right? Particularly like smaller games on smaller budgets, and this is one of the reasons why Japanese games have historically been quite surreal compared to Western games, is partly because they have smaller budgets, right? So bigger budgets tend to lead to like these massive simulationist worlds where everyone is walking around doing, you know, doing their routine and has like AI responses if you jump on a table and stuff like that. Whereas if you go down the route of something like Shin Megami Tensei, it's like, oh, this is a really surreal setting. And so like video games just naturally lend themselves to that because they are quite strange when you think too hard about them. And I think embracing a style of writing and of narrative design that allows the characters to also be as strange as video games generally are is quite a good route. I know it's hard to do. Like I'm just hitting the point with my own game where I'm going to have to do a big batch of writing. It's like we have a narrative outline for Dirt World, for my platformer, and there are sort of characters you can go up and talk to like you can in Shovel Knight and those kind of games. I'm just about hitting the point where I need to start doing writing for that game, which I haven't done for years and years. I'm not very confident in it. And I think just thinking about how this game approaches it has been quite helpful for me, but even just now, because I'm sort of realizing what I like about this style of writing, and it is that kind of like, no one's doing like wink wink nudge nudge I'm a video game character, right? There's none of that. We're not getting like people sort of openly acknowledging they're in a game. They fit in this world, but there's just like a broad conceit across the whole game that everyone has something really important to say. And it's almost like structurally the game knows that visiting these characters and meeting them is a reward for, you know, skillfully navigating on the bike and getting there quickly. So the game wants to make sure that none of them just say, oh, thanks, I love pizza, right? Which is what the placeholder text in this game could be if whoever wrote it didn't have a really clear bead on the tone of the writing and how they wanted the writing to feel and what they wanted the player experience to be of getting these chunks of writing. It could very end up being like a sort of navigation and skill-driven game about driving a bike, and when you meet the characters, they just go, I love pizza. And that would just completely kill the vibe, right? And it's a very consistent vibe, the way that this is written, the sort of approach to the narrative, and I really, really like it. It's doing lots of things that I just like to see in video games, I think. Pepperized said, I like the writing method of find what your story is about. Think of all the options you could have here for that thing. Those are your characters. Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that's happening in this, right, is that the pizzas on the board are mapped onto the characters who we're delivering them to, right? So the El Coyote guy, that was the guy that shoots the coyotes out at the power station, right? He puts his own meat on it. Maybe it's being loosely implied that he eats mutant coyote meat on his pizza. But again, that's filling in the gaps. We were talking about Enigma codes the other day, like the balance in a story between answering questions and creating questions in the mind of the reader or the player or whatever. That's a good example of that. That's like leaving a gap for me to wonder about. And good stories do that. They tell you something, and then just as they've told you something, they make you question something else. And that's what keeps you interested, right? And this is why, you know, people say, you know, that like 101 writing stuff, if you watch like a I don't know, a YouTube video on like why this story is bad, people will talk about too much exposition. And it's like, okay, but what are we supposed to do instead of exposition? Well, we're supposed to do a bit of exposition, and then we were supposed to create this breadcrumb trail of mysteries and missing information that makes the person intrigued, right? So I guess when you're doing world building or creating a game narrative, what you're doing is you're creating a sort of complete model of the world in your own head or in your own documentation. And then the narrativization is how do we present bits of that in a particular order to the player, right? When you do narrative theory, if you do media studies or literary, or if you did like a narrative design course for video games, the difference you get taught between story and narrative is like the story is the thing that actually happened in the fictional world, and the narrative is how it's told to you, like how do you encounter that information, right? So in a film, like a flashback is a narrative device that puts the narrative in a particular order that allows information to be released at a certain in a certain order that then creates a particular way of experiencing that story that is satisfying in some way, because you have moments where you go aha, or you have moments where you go I didn't, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, we've got like this link between the game mechanic of taking someone a pizza and there's sort of like the game object of the pizza and how it's linked to that person's taste. And then like those little kind of mysteries, like where does that guy get the meat to go on his pizza? Because we met the tomatoes lady, and she was very open about the tomatoes. We saw her growing them, and then this guy puts meat on his pizza. He shoots coyotes. Is he putting coyotes on his pizza? I guess that's his own business, but it's, you know, it's just neat. We like those little gaps that give you things to wonder and discuss about. Absurd Man, that is... Cormac McCarthy is a good reference point, actually. Random Granny in Mexico gives you a treatise about unknowability of God, and it's great. Yeah, there's also, like... No Country for Old Men is like that. Like, the book of No Country for Old Men is so different from the film because it has so much voice in it that you don't get when you're looking through a camera because there's not a character narrating it. And, I don't know who the author is who wrote Ballad of a Sad Cafe. It's like a sort of 1920s, 1930s novel. And that has a lot of that kind of voice in it, where it's like, you'll be telling the story, and then we'll just go off on a divergence for like 2 paragraphs about, you know, people around here are good folk who ain't much taken to and it will just start going down this sort of existential hole about what people are like, or what this group of people are like, and it just becomes like very, very navel-gazy in a way that's actually quite enjoyable when you are engaging with a narrative text on your own, right? Because when you're doing that, you're not there to compete with anyone. The appeal is much more just sort of losing yourself in the story, in the world. So again, it's that kind of thing of like, if something is story focused, how do you make that really rewarding? And I think it's not just about telling the story, it's about telling the story in a way that sort of pulls you forward by leaving these gaps. See you tomorrow. Okay, I've got to go and sleep in the bin again. Yeah, we really do need longer for these types of games, because it's not like, we're not just like checking it out for 20 minutes to see what the game feels like. It's like there's kind of stuff that's a slower burn. Okay, what have you got from me, boss man? There's got to be a good knock-knock joke. We can workshop one. Hey, here comes the delivery biker. As fresh as a morning after pizza. So tonight we have a Quattro Atomi for Magazine. He's probably high as a plane at the old Marshall Airport. Don't you go drinking on the job, though. Here's the Michelangelo for Frida. I'm getting more and more Tony Soprano as we go on. She's painting somewhere on the way to the dam. Susie ordered a pepperoni. She lives pretty deep in the desert under Silent Hill. I don't want to go to Silent Hill. Just find a delivery box, follow her instructions, and I'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay. The quattro atomi, the Michelangelo, the pepperoni. But because I promised, just for a moment, VTubing software is all... It's basically... They've made it so that you can't use it unless you're a weeb. It's all set up to be anime. And if you want to be... this guy, who I can't point to because my camera's mirrored. But if you want to be this guy, there's nothing for that. So one day we will have fully puppeted PSX dock, and I can make myself skinnier like this, like we have here. But for now, we have to do with the very kind contribution of the community member who loaded the GoldenEye rig into Blender, put my face on it, then loaded it into Unreal and made it do this dance, which is actually quite close to how I dance in real life. I love the fact that because we're playing a PSX pizza game, we've just got the perfect stream to listen to the pizza song and have low poly dock. Right, I need to unmute the site so we can have our sick beats back, mate. Okay, we've got to go to the airport. We've got to go. That bit near Red Mesa is the bit called Silent Hill, which I find concerning. And then Devil's Claw Mine. It's almost like on day 3 there are just more horrible sounding places. We'll go to the airport first. That sounds like not a bad place. Anime doc, yeah. Maybe we'll do an anime doc as well. I'll let you into a little secret, and those of you who are on the Patreon will actually get a document about this, because I made like a creative direction document for the YouTube channel, for like how I want the YouTube channel to evolve aesthetically in 2026. And part of this was for myself, but part of it is also I'm meeting like a local animator soon. I'm meeting a motion graphics person soon. I'm meeting people who might be able to help me out with certain parts of YouTubing and just make what I'm doing a bit closer to like the version of it that I have in my head. And the more goofy stuff that we have on this channel, like songs and dancing little guys and stuff like that, the more it weeds out the kind of LinkedIn brain get rich quick scheme guys, which I'm not going to go into a big rant about today because I know you're sick of me ranting about it. But that side of game dev YouTube and that side of online game dev culture doesn't like people being goofy, like, and that's good because that means that when we're goofy, we get rid of them and we can just be people that like indie games and like making games and like hanging out, working on our games and chatting about it and, you know, talking about the things that actually make games cool rather than exchanging marketing hack tips and stuff that is probably important and useful but bores me to tears, quite frankly. You know? Uh-oh. The old silly filter, yeah, exactly. Make them self-exclude. It's what humor generally does, right? This is what humor does in society generally. It's how humans use humor. They use it to create in-groups and out-groups, and that makes it sound really bad and cynical, but it's basically very hard to tell a joke without having in-groups and out-groups. And if you make something really clinical, if I were to make this... I've seen lots of YouTube and other similar stuff where it is like a academic or a, you know, ex-industry person giving very objective, like, not much personality type advice on things. And I don't really gravitate towards that, you know? Like, I consume media online with people in because it's someone who I vibe with talking about a subject matter that I find interesting, not because I think that listening to that person is going to lead to some sort of objective beneficial outcome for me, you know? Interesting. The music is actually in there, I think. Just checking I've got my headphones on the right way round for the directionality. There's lots of like 3D oriented music in this game. Can I go in here? That's not a door. Okay. This is giving boomers from Fallout New Vegas. Flower Theater. Excuse me, I would like to go in the Flower Theater. Maxini. I don't know your name, but you're not on the list tonight. Okay. I did forget the pizza. That's part of how I play this game. That's my strategy. I kind of want to see what their line is before I take the pizza to them as well. Here's your pizza. Imagine, just imagine, if instead of pizza you were delivering flowers. Wouldn't that be amazing? Spreading rose petals, love messages, and the fragrance of love all around you. I guess pizza is pretty good too. You can learn a lot about a person just by looking at their pizza or orders. You look like a margarita kind of person. There we go. That's the narrative thesis of the entire game, right? Remember what I was saying earlier? There's like a structure to this narrative where the characters are linked to their pizza choices. He just said it. He just said the thesis of the story. What's that? Mini disc. What have we got in our inventory? We've got some red paint and a mini disc. I don't know if we can actually use these in this demo, but I like that we have them. Man, this is so pretty. Yeah, so I don't know if it's loud enough for you to hear it, but the characters do have like a diddly 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 kind of way of, like a animalese kind of way of speaking, which is nice. It's quite subtle. It's nice to be able to project onto the characters. I'm making them all New Yorkers for some reason, which doesn't really make sense in this setting, but my command of the American accent is quite limited. So everyone is from New York or Louisiana, and there's no middle ground. All of the other states in the middle. We can do mini disc to radio guy, yeah, but I can't remember exactly where he was. I think he was on the path leading up to the Yellow River power plant. But yeah, we don't have a map marker for the radio guy to find out where he's to get back to him. Although maybe we'll just pass him in a delivery later on. Those scary guys again. I think they might be sort of like a little enclave of construction workers that don't have anything to do anymore, so they've become like like almost like a Mad Max gang. But the fact that we only speak to them through the door when we met those guys, when we took them their pizza, that's neat. And it's kind of, because it's menacing, right? All of the other characters, we've met them face to face, but like those characters, we interacted with them through a door, which is like both adding variety to the game very cheaply in terms of the type of narrative encounters we're coming up against, not against, but experiencing. But it also just makes them seem like enemies because we don't see the character. It sort of creates a bit of sort of social division compared to everyone else we've met that's been reasonably friendly. Those guys are just like hunkering down, not letting us speak to them face to face. This is interesting. What are we doing here? So we are at Susie. Hang on. Susie, do you live under the ground? And her pizza's called a pepperoni. No. It's 47 of you in the watching this right now. There's a chance some of you don't know what a prepper is. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to Google it. And then you'll get the joke. We'll take the pepperoni pizza.
You're not Antonio. Who the fuck are you? I hope you didn't drive too close to the fucking new dumpster. Antonio knew the best roads to avoid contamination. He also used special protection on the box. You better have used the same one, otherwise I won't eat your poison particle pie. I've seen what it does to the wildlife. I've seen what it does to sane and respectable citizens of this country. They grow extra limbs. Start talking about returning to monarchy. And letting algorithms decide if they should conceive or decease. I don't want any of that. They won't be able to control me. This is my life, my property, my sanity they're trying to steal. I might die in this hole, but at least I'll keep my whole mind.
Amazing. Thanks for your treatise on life, Susie. I will respect your wishes and I will keep out. I think you should probably write keep out on here as well, because people could get confused and think that this only refers to, you know, not going in whatever this is. Okay. The painter. We're gonna visit a painter next. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's not fully post-apocalyptic, is it? It's more like a sort of day after tomorrow economic collapse, you know? It seems like we haven't had a destruction event, which I would associate with apocalyptic fiction. There hasn't been a destruction event. We've just had like the slow wheels falling off of capitalism and statehood and stuff. You often get this in like the old cyberpunk literature of the 80s. If you go back and read the Sprawl trilogy, you don't get it so much in Neuromancer. And I know there's lots of people that read Neuromancer and then never read the other two. The other two books in the Sprawl trilogy are so interesting, like, just get them as audiobooks because they're really interesting. But basically, in those, and you get a bit of this in Cyberpunk 2077 as well, it's like the city is a state, right? It's like this kind of corporate-owned state. And then as soon as you get out into the countryside and stuff, it's like the Wild West again, because there isn't really a government looking after that, right? And I guess you do get, like, in like 2000 AD with Judge Dredd, you get that to a degree as well. It's like there's been all these wars and they've built the megacities, and then out in the countryside, it's like free land. It's that kind of thing again. So it's a weird particular kind of slice or like take on post-apocalyptic that's not what we normally associate with post-apocalyptic stuff when it's in games, right? Because when it's in games, we're usually using it as an excuse to like wreck everything and have mutant monsters to kill and all of that kind of stuff. Whereas here it's doing a very different thing. It's like, how do we give you a really good reason to be driving a cool motorbike around in a beautiful place without there being any other traffic, you know? And it's because pizza never changes. Yeah, the Mona Lisa Overdrive and what's the other one called? Count Zero? What do we get in those books that we don't get in Neuromancer? We get like women with thoughts. That's the thing that you don't get so much in the first one. You know, I wouldn't say that Gibson like magically learned how to write women well by the end of the Sprawl trilogy, but he certainly realized that they should have thoughts and interiority. And you just get kind of, you get all of this jet setting. Oh, what is this cyberpunk world like in London? What is it like in Japan? What is it like in the middle of nowhere? One of my favorite Gibson characters from the Sprawl trilogy is the guy, I can't remember his name, I think it's Duke or something, but he lives in a kind of trash, like a dump, like a massive dump. He lives there, and he makes these art pieces out of junk, and he's sort of compelled to do it. And at the beginning, you meet him and you just think, well, this is like an eccentric artist that makes stuff out of junk because that's what he does. And then later on, you find that he was put in this prison program. I think he stole a car or something. He was put in prison and brainwashed to work on a factory line, but in a way that basically turned your brain off while you were doing it. So it's like an extension of how, you know, labor works in the American prison industrial system. But to this point where you've got this kind of Fallout-y type experiments being done on prisoners where they have like no direct recollection of what they were doing in prison for work, right? So he's left prison, he's been in there for however many years, like, I don't know, not a long sentence, but he doesn't remember the majority of it. But he's left with this compulsion to assemble things out of metal that's been put into him by the program. I find that character incredibly compelling because it's not like, you know, so many times when cyberpunk gets brought over into video games, it's just like an excuse to give someone a cool gun for an arm. And like, I can play a game with a guy with a cool gun for an arm for forever, right? Even more so if it's a cool woman with a gun for an arm. Amazing. But there's so many more things you can do with cyberpunk for storytelling, and I think when it's brought into video games that are focused on action, you just often get the like, what if my gun was an arm? What if my leg was an arm? What if my face was a gun? What if my face was a gun? They were all supposed to be guns. What if my arm was a gun? What if my leg was a gun? What if my face was a gun? What if my robot arm was actually a robot leg? You just kind of get all of these very physical, action-oriented stories about cyberpunk rather than these interesting kind of psychological things like what you tend to get more in books and movies of like the implications of messing around with people's heads with chips and stuff and what that does to personality and memory and all of those kind of things. Right, you need your pizza. You're the painter. Do you see this?
You don't see it, huh? You only see what we're capable of showing. Nothing is beautiful except the truth. Only the truth is lovable. I hope your eyes won't deceive you when it comes to finding paint cans around here. If you bring them to me, I can give your motorbike a new coat of Veritas.
I mean, I do have a paint can. I don't know if I can really do anything with it. I feel like that's like a hinted feature for this demo. I don't think... yeah, I can't actually give him the paint can. This is what I was talking about in that video I put out last week about like faking systems. Like you're doing a prototype or an early demo, you're testing if people like the idea, you can sort of hint at the system being there, and you can still judge if it appeals to people. Like the idea of going around collecting paint so I can customize my bike, yeah, that's reasonably appealing. I don't really want a red bike, but that's where you'd have to create like a hierarchy of how desirable are the different paints, right? And if you find out more people like purple and black than they do red, then you put the purple and black in the harder to find place in the game. But it seems like some of these mechanics like the mini discs and the paint aren't hooked into anything, or if they are, I can't work out how to use them.
Is that for me? Gosh, I'm so thankful my past self remembered to consider my present body's needs.
That's such a mood.
I guess I must be hungry then. Thank you.
Oh, give paint can. Oh, we can do it.
Delightful. Can you finally see it?
Okay, so okay, the feature is there. Okay, so we can click on these paint cans and it changes our bike. That's neat. No frills. But it is implemented. Okay, we'll have a red bike for a little while then. Yeah, I feel like black, pink, and purple will probably be the most desired colours. Also green. Green is just like the quintessential obnoxious superbike colour. Although if I was going to make that system more appealing, then obviously like anything you can do, like adding decals and or having 2 sections of paint that you can paint different colours so that people feel like they're making a bit more of a choice. Obviously that would be time consuming, but the sort of thing that people who already like choosing the colour of something will like. They do that in the late game in Pacific Drive of like, you've got decals and paint and stuff you can use to decorate the car. And sort of the deeper you get into the game, the more that becomes a bigger sink for your economy. Because there are resources that you use early on in the game in Pacific Drive that you don't need as much for practical reasons later on, so you can invest them in like getting more stickers and stuff like that. And they do I mean, we've been talking earlier about, you know, making the gameplay and the storytelling justify each other. A really funny thing they do in Pacific Drive, if you haven't played it, is there's a subplot where the car that you're driving is like a weird anomalous object, right? Like those the game Control has a similar concept, just like everyday objects that are somehow like, you know, weird X-Files spooky things from another dimension that are taking on the shape of a everyday object. And there's this kind of insinuation this car is magical or has a personality. And one of the things you're told early on in the story is that people who are bonded to one of these objects become obsessed with it, right? And they don't want to leave it. They start to look after it. They start to treat it like it has a personality. So the gameplay that you're encouraged to do throughout the game, which is to look after your car and maybe decorate it, even though decorating it doesn't have any mechanical effect, starts to naturally play out the story you've been told of what happens when a human gets bonded to an anomaly, right? So it's like you're through the gameplay, you start behaving like someone who is unnaturally obsessed with looking after their car and decorating it, and that's really funny. I like that. It's very, very neat. We should do a test to see if the red paint makes the bike faster. You're right. I mean, we do have a speedometer. How fast can we go? Let's get on a flat road and see how fast we can go. We should be able to do like 150 or something. Hell yeah. Oh no, it's Summit Drive all over again. Can we get out? Am I gonna have to do an unstuck? These are places you'd have to watch out for when you're building the game, is like places that you just can't get out of. But we do have a... There we go. Where's that put us? Put us all the way back there. Better direction to go in though. been using shift to brake. I don't think shift even actually does that. It's alright, we've got no pizza left. We can crash as much as we want. Yeah, you could definitely imagine like a more skill-based version of this game where you get like maybe a slightly different piece of dialogue or reaction if you've wrecked the pizza. But I don't think you really want to discourage people from driving fast and recklessly in this because there's not really any reason to. Why no crash repercussions? I think it's just because it doesn't really fit what the game is going for, really, because this is more of like a character-driven narrative game where the bike is sort of used to give you something to do between the story segments. I do think there could be crash repercussions, but it's just working out whether or not they add anything for the people that would play this, because the thing about I mean, it's a strangely positioned game, right? Because I feel like the market for this game, if you think about what it actually is rather than what it looks like, the market for this game is similar to games like A Short Hike. This is essentially a cozy game, right? There's no repercussions. It doesn't punish you for being bad at it, which I think is like part of how a lot of people who consider themselves cozy gamers make that classification, right? It's not necessarily that the game is cute. It's that it is not designed around frustrating you through skill checks, right? And I know there are people that will be like, oh, Fallout 4 is a cozy game because I get to build a little house and stuff, but I don't know, I'm on quite a few like Facebook and Reddit groups for cozy games because I sort of like games of that sort as well. And the thing that defines them for most people is, you know, a lot of the time you've got people that have backgrounds where they've got into gaming a little bit later, or they're not part of like the gaming mainstream of people that like super hardcore AAA games. And that means that they do prefer games that aren't like beating them over the head with difficulty a lot of the time. So like mechanically and structurally, this is a cozy game. It's just getting... There might be a very small mismatch between the sort of... It's kind of cool and edgy, right? We've got this sort of... It's kind of like Wipeout, the way that we've got the PSX aesthetic combined with the sort of clubby dance music. It kind of reminds me of the Wipeout games. And that might signal to people, because it's a bit darker and edgier, that it's going to be less cozy and more of a skill-based game. But I don't think that's necessarily a problem as long as it gets in front of the right people. And I think another game you could consider that sort of fills that is something like Dredge. Is not incredibly skill-based. It is like a sort of exploration-based incremental game. Very hard to lose at Dredge. I mean, you can. There are kind of repercussions, but they happen slowly over time because you spent a resource poorly or you got lost or whatever. And lots of people consider that a cozy game, even though it's kind of horror-themed. And that's, again, because it's very low on punishing you for not being good at it. And I guess maybe that's more the definition of casual rather than cozy, but I think... I definitely think this game could be enriched by having some sort of repercussions for crashing or ruining the pizza, or, you know, not going fast enough so the pizza gets cold. I think that could be interesting, but I think they would need to be pointed at the narrative, because the people who play this are mostly going to play it to meet the characters and experience the world building, because that's the main thing that the game is doing really well. So I think if you did have repercussions for crashing or not driving fast enough so the pizzas get cold, they would need to be to do with like the game world rather than anything too kind of systemic, because I mean, you could do both, right? But we're always trying to think about like what's the efficient thing to do. And the efficient thing is usually to, like, if you're adding a new feature, to think of how it ties to the other ones. And this is so story driven and character driven. It's like a little visual novel vignettes of meeting a character, and then the driving is in the gaps to sort of stretch it out a bit, I guess. I don't know where the music's come from. I don't know if it's properly licensed or what. I would say if you're looking for music for a game and you have a specific genre of popular music that you're interested in, rather than it being like video game music, then you almost certainly have people in your town that make that type of music and would love to put their music in a game. It might be more difficult to work with them than working with like a professional games composer, but they're more likely to give you stuff for cheaper and all of that kind of stuff. So I think those kind of questions, it's usually just sort of like look around. There's usually someone in your town that makes that genre of EDM or whatever it is you want, or certain type of rock music on SoundCloud or on Instagram in like local creatives groups and stuff like that. So, but you know, you're not going to get everything perfectly mixed for a game. You're not going to get like stems that you can put in a reactive music middleware or something like that. But it can be a good way to find stuff.
I can tell you like delivering pizza, but if you want more, you're gonna have to come back and buy the full game.
Oh, we finished it. That's the end of the 3-night demo. So yeah, it's empty. There's no cars because this world has no cars in. So one of the kind of themes has been just like talking about how well structured this game is so that the story justifies how empty it is. Because everything that we get in the first sort of 10 minutes of story sort of explains to us why there are no cars, right? But yeah, it's supposed to be a different night each time. So you sleep in the dumpster, and then when you wake up, it's the next night. We've got different color sky each time, I think. Let's do a like. I'm gonna stay online for like about 15 minutes. I think we'll have a little bit more of a drive around while we can, but. Yeah, I like this. I would play a longer version of this, but I think I would need some other stuff to. I used to be a biker like you until I fell off my Ducati. I would like more stuff to do, I guess, but people are always going to ask for that. And we've got the kind of mini game of collecting the paint, of collecting the mini discs, collecting the bike parts. I haven't actually found any bike parts that change the sound of the bike yet. But I think one of the potential issues with those kind of collection mini games is there's no way to do them in a way that's not accidental, right? So if you think we found the red paint outside someone's house, I can't remember. We found the mini disc in the airport in that little hippie rave room, and those were like rewards for going somewhere else, and that's fine. But it's only one use of collectibles, right? You have like a collectible used in such a way that it's like you're doing something in the game that you're supposed to do. Here's a collectible, right? So it sort of reinforces the thing that you were supposed to do as a reward. What we don't have is any way to sort of incentivize different ways of playing the games using those collectibles and reward, which could be neat, right? We could have I don't know exactly how you do it, but maybe there's a version of this game where, you know, say I'm driving up to Marshall Airport to deliver a pizza up there, and on the route we see, I guess this is the Dark Souls approach, right? To rewarding exploration is sometimes you turn a corner because you were wandering around exploring and you find a collectible, right? Other times you are in the golden path going through the level and you see that there's a collectible off the beaten track. And that's one of the benefits of the way that Dark Souls does collectibles, where they're like a little shiny thing rather than a Skyrim real physical object. is you'll see like a little rooftop and you'll see like a little glowing thing, and then you kind of have your own goal of like, I need to get up there and get that thing. There's nothing that's like in the game telling you need to do that apart from the existence of the thing in the world and its visibility from where you're standing. So if we were going from Coyote Industrial Park up to the airport and we're going along this route, and then maybe we get, I don't know, what if there's like, as you're driving along, you can occasionally see something, but it's a little bit off the beaten track, and maybe like, I need to get off the bike here, I need to go in here, I need to have a look around, you know, oh, there's a collectible here, and I could just see it through there as I was driving past, right? And then it's rendered in such a way that you do have that kind of Dark Souls effect, where if you're paying attention, you will occasionally see like a glint of something or some sort of sparkle of something, and then you can kind of drive over that way or get off and explore and all that kind of stuff. I think that would give it a little bit more variety versus just always kind of going to the next delivery. I'm going to go back up to the farm. Amazing. You still peeling potatoes? The mound never rests, but the plants grow new. Green paint. There we go. See, that one, I didn't see it the first time, but it was still out in the open. Right? So, but maybe I'd forgotten that, because that was the first person we came up to, so maybe I didn't even think to look. You could definitely see a version of this where I'm not necessarily advocating for hiding them so that you have to like get off everywhere and look around, but sort of positioning them so that you can see them, but you have to kind of be at a particular angle and then notice they're there. I think that would be a good way of making the collectibles add more to the game, you know? So if you think of collectibles as a way of encouraging a particular behavior in a player, you can have collectibles that are just everywhere, and then the behavior is completionism of like, I need to get them all. You can have collectibles that are just, you know, as I said about Dark Souls, you turn the corner, it's there, and you're rewarded for going off the beaten track. Or it's more of a motivator to go off the beaten track because you can actually see it. You know, you can see it's up on that cliff and you need to go up and get it. The bike feels pretty great. I would suggest people have a play of this if you like the look of it. Let the devs know what you think on the itch page. It's playable in browser. I've been totally fine getting it to work in browser for me, but you can download it as well. Let the devs know what you think. Maybe have a look at their other games on the itch page as well. If you know of any similar games you think the devs should look at for inspiration for features and stuff like that, then you know, let us know. But yeah, I think there's a lot of strong points in this one. There's a lot of stuff that I personally like. It's just making sure that, you know, if this did go all the way to Steam, making sure that people understand what it is and what it isn't. I can totally see the appeal of a very low pressure, chilled out bike game with some very funny and occasionally poignant character writing, you know. It's a good mix of stuff. Tricky shortcuts, yeah, Tim, good shout. I think we get a little bit of the effect of that down at the Coyote Industrial Park at the bottom, where you go back to the pizza place. It's sort of like a little bit of a maze. It doesn't look that complex when you see it on the map, but when you're actually driving it, because there's like overpasses and underpasses, it's quite confusing to work out and master that area. So anything where you can gradually master the kind of shortcuts and stuff to get through the world quicker. The problem with that is that you really need some kind of pressure to make those shortcuts worth it, right? So in Dredge, they have areas that you explode. So you, at some point, you unlock TNT. You get a guy sort of invents TNT, or gives you the recipe for it, and then you can build it, and then you can blow up these blockades that are kind of blocking a shortcut from one place to the other. The value of that shortcut isn't just, oh, I get there quicker. It's also like, you know, maybe I use less resources, or, you know, there has to be some other sort of incentive for the shortcut. Maybe time is enough on its own, but you start to kind of get to how all of these things are connected, because someone earlier was saying, well, there's no penalties for crashing, and it's like, well, okay, but you know, what would that add? Because we would need to be like doing stuff on a timer in a kind of crazy taxi type way, which could work, right? And I think the sort of person that likes the world building and the characters, if there was a little bit of an element of difficulty in trying to get to people within a time limit, then that could be quite neat, because you could leverage the player's desire to please the characters as a kind of lever in the game. So when I've got 3 characters that I need to deliver a pizza to, it could be the case that they all have the same time limits, right? But the person who gets their pizza last is more likely to be further on in the time limit and be annoyed that their pizza was cold, right? And then it becomes almost like a judgment game of who don't I mind disappointing. When you think of like life sims and games that are about being in a community, it's kind of the kind of meta in a Stardew Valley or a Harvest Moon is like, who do I prioritize spending my time ingratiating myself towards? So it's definitely a precedent for that sort of thing in these more kind of cozy character interaction driven games. What is the genre of this game? It's a driving and delivering game. Driving and delivering game. Yeah, I would say it's a like, what's Short Hike listed as? Let's see what Short Hike is listed as. You know, this is a wandering around talking to characters game. It's listed as a relaxing exploration game, an adventure game, cute and casual. I think a lot of these applied to Speedster. We could Speedza, exploration, relaxing. Yeah, relaxing, exploration, driving, if that's a thing. Not cute. Speedza isn't cute, but it is casual and it is relaxing, right? So let's have a look at some other games that have PSX. So, what's it called? Sorry, We're Closed. Sorry, We're Closed has a PSX art style. Does that have a tag for that? Retro 3D, right? So I would definitely put the retro tag on this rather than the cute tag. So it would be a relaxing retro exploration driving indie adventure or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there are certain types of games that don't fit neatly into a genre, and I think often these kind of games that are more where the appeal is more the narrative than the gameplay are gonna be the ones like that, right? Because the bits where we're talking to a character, it is almost like we're in a visual novel, but the gameplay in between that is not. I mean, it's the thing you spend the most time doing in the game, but if it's the main thing you're attracted to, then you're probably not going to enjoy the game because it's not a racing game. So, but narrative games often have that trouble with genre where it's just like the genre is really more like a literary genre. Like, is this a Western or is it a horror or is it a steampunk? Because the gameplay is making decisions within a narrative, right? So they don't really fit into the framework of game genres as we would use them for game-focused games, I guess. So, you know, if you look at Inkle's games, this is a studio that makes predominantly branching narrative games. They all really, the main thing is the story, but they're structured in a particular way that kind of is different each time. Who don't I mind disappointing? Yeah. Yeah, I think there's totally ways you can... there's totally versions of this game that have more of a clear way of failing and have things like scoreboards and stuff like that. It's just working out if the people who like that also like the other parts of this game. But yeah, if I were going to go down the route of taking a game like this and making it a bit richer and with kind of more things to do and stuff, if I were going to introduce that skill element, I would relate it to the character part of the game. So, you know, if you take ages and you keep crashing, then a character, you get like 1 star instead of 3 stars when you reach the character, and then they say something different to you, you know? So it's almost like you're doing branching dialogue, but your driving is the dialogue option. So if you get someone very quickly and you deliver their pizza quickly, you get the dialogue option, which is like, this person is happy with you and chilled out and wants to open up to you. And if you get 1 star, then you get the dialogue option where it's like, here's what this person is like when they're at their worst because they've just been handed a cold pizza, all that kind of thing. I think if you went too much down the route of putting leaderboards and stuff all over it, you're going to start attracting people that don't care about the narrative part of the game, and then you're getting kind of like mixed appeals. I think this is a thing to think about whenever you're trying to mix things together. Like someone, don't know if they're... I'm frozen on the webcam, but not on the mic. That's weird. I mean, I think this game is cozy. Again, I think if you spend some time on forums of people that play cozy games, you would be surprised at the amount of things that fall under that banner. I think this aesthetic is more relaxed than dark. I don't think any of this looks scary. I think it looks kind of atmospheric in a particular way. Right, I'm going to wrap it up because my mic is frozen. My webcam is frozen and I don't know why. Thank you all for joining today. Go and check out Speedza if you like the look of it. Don't forget, Low Poly Doc is always watching. I am kind of intrigued by the kids that live in the tunnel that we were told about, but I'm not going to seek them out now. You can do that another time. See you all soon.